Welcome back, 4th grade. We're going to talk today, we're going to switch from the metric system to the customary system today and talk about measurement. So the units we'll use will be a lot more familiar to you, but the math will be a lot harder. Go ahead and make this the title of the next free page in your math notebook. Once you have done that, mark your page, close it up, and listen until we get to we do. So we've been working with the metric system, and there are, different countries use different systems of measurement. So far we've been doing the metric system. What's nice about the metric system is no matter what you're measuring, distance, weight, capacity, everything, you get to use that King Henry mnemonic to help you remember. And so the math is the same in the metric system, no matter what you're measuring, and it's easy because it's always just times 10 times 10 times 10. The customary system is what we use in this country primarily. So you're going to recognize these distances. It does not, we're still going to be, using multiplication to get from one unit to another, but it isn't as simple. It's not always 10, and it's not even always the same thing. So in addition to being easy tens, it was also just always 10, and it's not going to be that way in customary, so that'll be trickier. So we're going to start by measuring distance or length in the metric system. And here are the units you'll most commonly see, or not in the customary system. In the metric system, we use mostly meters, kilometers, and centimeters. That was in metric. In customary, we're going to use miles, feet, yards, and inches. So you're probably familiar with all of those, which is handy. So if you're not quite, a ruler, I know you are familiar with those, a ruler that you would use in class, oh, my camera's coming up so you can see one, that is a foot. So like for me, a foot is about the distance from my elbow to my hand. That's like pretty much 1 foot. If I bend my elbow, you can see. It's about from my elbow to the middle of my hand. So that's a foot. You can just imagine a ruler and be like, okay, that's about a foot. So that's one common unit. And then they're broken into inches. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. And so for me, that's about the distance from one knuckle to another on my pointer finger. It's like exactly 1 inch for me. Your hands are a little smaller, so you may have to use 2. I don't know. But that is how I remember an inch. It's about that far. There are 12 of those in a foot. So already you're noticing instead of that nice, easy times 10, to go from feet to inches, there are 12, not 10. Yards are another one. Yards are 3 feet. They are very close to a meter. I've got a meter stick here we looked at back in metric, and if I measure this, 3 feet out on there, 1, 2, 3, it's like 2 more inches and it would be a meter. So a yard, this is a meter stick. A yard is about this far. It's very close. So a yard is 3 feet. If you ever play football or watch football, they always talk about yards, yard lines. They have to go 10 yards to get a first down, 100 yards to get a touchdown. So that's something that's commonly measured in yards. So they're very similar to meters, but not the same. And again, you'll notice not only is the math not as easy as a times 10, but it's not even another 12. So depending on what you're doing, there might be a 12, there might be a 3, depending what you're converting. Miles you're also probably familiar with. A mile is pretty far, and the math is crazy on that one. A mile, it's a really not fun number to have to multiply by. A mile is 5,280 feet. So when you measure or make conversions in the customary system, not only do you not always get 10, but you don't even always get the same thing, 5,280, 3, or 12. So let's see how this goes to work. So you have to have some familiarity here. So this is me. I am 6 feet and 1/2 of an inch tall. So what if I wanted to know just how many inches tall am I? So when I'm going to do a conversion problem like this, metric system, we lined up the measurements from biggest to smallest, right? Smaller, 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 smaller. So what I like to do too is I also like to line up all the units I know from largest to smallest. So like if I'm talking about distance or height or length, the longest unit I know is miles. The next longest unit I know is yards. The next unit I know is feet. And the next unit I know is inches. So I still kind of set it up like King Henry so that I can do the same kind of math. I just have to know all of the differences. So like here I want to go to inches, right? This part's already in inches, so I'm going to ignore that for a minute. But I want to convert 6 feet to know how many inches is that. And what you have to know, and usually we'll tell you this, you don't have to necessarily memorize all these. There are 12 inches in a foot. So if you take, to go from feet to inches, you multiply by 12, right? So I am 6 feet tall, so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go to here. So it's only one jump, which is nice. Not too bad. You might know your 12, 6 times 12. If you do, you're done. If you don't know your 12s, you've got to do the multiplication. I'll do an area model. 12 times 6 is 60, and 12. So altogether, I would be 72 inches tall, except don't forget this other ½ inch at the beginning we forgot. So I am 72 inches from the 6 feet, plus the other 1/2 inches tall. So that's how you convert. I still do the same kind of math I did with King Henry. It's just more work. Is pretty much how it is. Okay. Open your notebook up and let's do a let's remind yourself in your notes of what the units are, if you would. So please write these down. This is customary distance or length measurements. And you're going to have to kind of estimate. So for you guys are a little smaller than me. Let's say a foot is roughly the distance from your elbow to your fingertips. That's about a foot. Just so you kind of remember how far things are. It's probably close. Not exact, but close. A yard is harder to remember. It's 3 feet. I don't know what, you guys are probably about somewhere between 4 and 5 feet tall, I would guess. So for you, it's probably roughly from like your armpit to the floor or something. Armpit to foot, I'm guessing. Depends how tall you are. And inches for me is knuckle to knuckle. For you, it might be knuckle to fingertip. Just want you to kind of remember how far these are. And a mile, you just have to know something that's about a mile from where you live, or a mile from one place to another. So hopefully you know something that's about a mile. Like, for me, it's from like my house to Publix is a mile, because I walk there a lot. But for you, I don't know. It depends where you are. Okay, so those are what the units are. The other thing you need to know is how many make what. So like feet to inches, there are 12 inches in a foot. There are 3 feet in a yard. And there are 5,280 feet in a mile. That one's really hard to remember. And when we do one where that's your math, it's really a pain to do. Multiplying by 5,280 takes a little while. But that's what you have to do, because the customary system's not so simple. Okay? So that's to help you remember what they are and how they work. So now let's do an example. So pause here and write this we do down, and then we'll work it out. So I live about 3 miles from school. When I bike to work, how many feet do I ride to school? Okay. So again, just like we used to write King Henry died based drinking chocolate milk in the metric system, these were written from biggest to smallest, right? So when I work customary measurement problems, I still like to write my units from biggest to smallest to help me remember. Miles, yards are next, feet, and inches. And it's kind of weird here. I'm not going to make two steps here. I'm not going to go miles to yards, then yards to feet, because I actually don't know miles to yards. For whatever reason, most people know how many feet are in a mile. So we're actually going to get to skip yards, which is nice. So I know I ride 3 miles to work, and I want to know how many feet. And that's the one that's a pain. Remember, if I go back to this page, there are 5,280 feet. I have no idea where that number came from, why we chose this number to make a mile, but we did. So I'm going to go from there to there. So I'm going to, from miles to feet, each mile is 5,280. Ugh, my pen sometimes doesn't like let me write. Feet. So, nothing you can do but work the math out. 3 times 5,280 in expanded form. Make my area model. And just grind out those numbers. 3 times 5 is 15, and there are 1, 2, 3 zeros, so that's 15,000 feet. 3 times 2 is 6, 1, 2 zeros. 3 times 8 is 24, and 1 0 from that. And add them up. Got to really line up my place values accurately here. 15,600, 240. Make sure, you know, 1s are with 1s, 10s are with 10s. This will be nice. No regrouping all the way through. 0, 4, 8, 5, and 1. So when I bike to school, if I lined up 15,840 rulers, that's about how many I would need to get to school. So that's the customary system, guys. What's nice about the customary system is you're going to recognize the units because you use them. What's bad about the metric system is the math is way worse. Metric system is just 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Metric system, who knows? And when we go tomorrow to weight, we will not use 3s or 5,280s or 12s. It's like all different units for all different things. So it's a lot more to know and remember in the customary system than the metric system, but it's what we use. So hopefully this made some good sense to you. If you are feeling confused, please go back and check out the I do or the we do again, just to make sure you have a firm foundation on this for class tomorrow. See you then.